Welcome to Relax and Chat, episode 46. I've got a real treat for you today. A very well-known booktuber who has done a lot for the writing community, particularly writers. This gentleman does some fantastic interviews, and he has helped put a lot of writers on the map. And if you don't know it already, you need to know that you're not going to sell a lot of books if readers don't know that you exist and your work exists. Josh is your hero in this. He does fantastic interviews. So today I have the great pleasure of introducing Josh from Already Overbooked. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing good, Rod. I really appreciate you having me on. I was been looking forward to this for weeks since we went through and decided to have this conversation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and really appreciate you having me on. I'm a big fan of your show and you going through and talking with people and giving them the opportunity to expand their horizon a little bit and talk to more people. So I'm loving it, man. I appreciate you for me being here.
I've seen many of your shows. You got one coming up, I think, within the next week or two with Molly McCobb, right?
I do, yeah. So next week I am interviewing her on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited for that
Oh,
discussion.
yeah.
That's going to be our first live. You know, Molly and I have been um, friends on the social webs for a little while, but just aligning up to get on an interview hasn't worked out. So I'm very, very excited for this. Her new book, Without a Whisper, is fantastic. It is
Cool.
the second book in her duology, and it is so much fun. If anyone who's watching this have not read any of Molly's work, she is a fantastic writer. Huge, huge fan of
Yeah.
everything she's gone through and put out so far.
Yeah, she did an episode of my show, and I've got to let you know, which you probably already know this. She is absolutely charming and a joy to
Mhm.
talk with. That's going to be a fantastic episode. Uh, let me know, let me have some sort of link, and I'll share it across my platform, help you promote it, because
Or-
that'll be a very exciting show to see. I'm looking forward to it very much.
Thanks,
Um,
Rod. Appreciate that, man.
just because my little show is what it is, I need to go ahead and jump into the questions, but we should go through them pretty smoothly. The
Sounds
first
good.
one's to be pretty easy is well, you're famed for reading a vast number of books each year. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
what are your three favorite genres that you really enjoy reading?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think so transparent. I read everything. So if you anyone that's watching, if you have a book that doesn't fall into these categories, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to read anything as long as it has a good story with it, characters I can kind of connect with. I am all on board. Definitely going through and supporting indie authors. If you want to go through and check out my channel, that's pretty much what I go through and read primarily is indie authors. I love supporting this community. But my top three favorite genres would have to be fantasy, thrillers, um, sci-fi, and horror. I know you said three, but I like to give a little extra. So so those are usually my top fours where I usually go to.
Ah, fantastic. And do you have any favorite books in those genres? I know you've read so many, it's hard to pick a
So
favorite.
many. Yeah, so many, man. I have a few next to me that I usually like to be prepared for potentially if these question comes up of hey, what's your favorite? I don't know if I can do for each of those genres. I don't have a horror book next to me, but I could probably think of one off the top of my head. But let me run through these real quick of what I got here. These are usually my top favorite books. Can't go wrong with Mr. Brandon Sanderson, Well of Ascension. Such a gem. This is one of the books that got me into reading fantasy. So I just have a lot of love for Brandon Sanderson. Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin is another book that I adore. I love this series so much. And then my favorite book from last year was F. Paul Wilson. I'm going through F. Paul Wilson. Anyone that has not started reading any F. Paul Wilson's, you need to, is Black Wind by F. Paul Wilson is amazing. And then you can't have a list of books that you love without adding in Red Rising. I adore this Red Rising series. Golden Sun is right there on the top of the list. So those are just a few of books that I like that I'm kind of a fan of. No, I'm just kidding. I love these books to death. And then there's also amazing indie authors. I don't have a lot of physical copies of indie books. Most of the time, authors send me ebooks of it. So, I like to go through and show things. So if I get some, I'll definitely go through and share a little bit more. But yeah, huge fan across the board of those different types of books and genres.
Fantastic. Yeah, you had several there that I'd like to read. um, okay, I need to move on to the next question because my little show is relatively short compared to most. Um, this kind of goes with what I said at the opening. You really do some great interviews, and you don't necessarily have to mention anybody's name unless you're comfortable doing so. But I'm curious if you might give a description of one of your most enjoyable interviews, one you really stands out. That was an interview you really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, man. Here's the thing. I've been very lucky, very, very lucky with the people who I've had on the channel and interviewed. I don't know if I can go through and pick one specific person on who my favorite is, because I enjoyed every single one for different reasons. But what I can tell you is who the type of person who I seem to connect with most is authors who are open to go through and really talk about their process, who really understand why they do what they do when it comes to writing. I love, for me personally, I do those interviews not only to help the authors get their name out there, but it's because I'm a little selfish and I like to understand people's processes. It gets me very excited when I can talk to someone who has a lot of passion for what they do. So I've been very blessed to talk to people who've been passionate about writing and getting their name out there and their stories that they tell. So that's kind of what gets me excited to go through. So anyone that's passionate about the work that they put out there, I love it. I have too much fun. And then I think the benefit of the interviews I do is I read every single author's works, at least one of their works before they're on. So anyone that's on, I'm a fan of their work. I have something excited to go through and talk to them about. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, that's a very fascinating 2 cents. It's cool. And I agree with you. I think the worst guest is the one who gives you a one syllable answer and stares at you.
Yes, yes, that is definitely
Speaking,
the biggest area where you ask a question and they go correct and you go, all right. Yeah, yeah.
now, speaking of that, of course, I'm going to flip the coin and ask you, and of course, you don't have to name anyone specific, but a description of your most horrific interview that you despised it. And when you turned off your camera, you went, "Ugh, I didn't like that person."
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the last question, I've been very blessed to go through and talk to every single person I've talked to has been amazing. They've been nice. And I've talked to people all over the board. I've talked with people who they had their debut novel. I've had people who most recently I had Dave Dobson on, who's a fantastic author. And he's put out I think 11 books, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
7 or 11. I get confused on the year, how long he's been writing and how many books he's put out. So I have people who's put out those types of books from an indie space. And I've also spoken with a bunch of traditional published authors, some that have movies out that's been in theaters. So I've been blessed. I've been blessed with talking with so many amazing people. So yeah, I've been very lucky. I don't know, maybe my next few, maybe I'll have one that'll be bad and we'll talk next time. I'll bring it back up. No, next time we have these conversations of like, oh, I just had a terrible one, but so far they've been great. They've been
Well,
great.
hopefully all of the shows will be a pleasure for you. My show exists because I love to learn, and with
Mm-hmm.
every guest, I learn something. And
Yeah.
for me, that's my fun. Instead of video
Mm-hmm.
games, I like to learn things.
Same, man. Same. Yeah, that's my big thing. You can learn something from every single person you interact with. It's just going through and finding something that they're passionate about
Yeah.
and being able to ask those follow-up questions, sincere follow-up questions to really get to know someone. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Rod. I'm right there with you.
Now, for me, the most horrific guest, I've got to say it. I won't name anybody, but I don't do well with arrogant people. I
Mhm.
don't like those who stretch up a little higher, look down their nose, tell you how to do your job when they don't have a clue how to do it, or
Mhm.
do their best to convince you that, well, you're indie. You're just playing in the sandbox. I'm a traditional writer. I know at least five indie writers that can blow your ass away. Shut up. So yeah, I didn't enjoy that at all. I have a real problem with arrogant people. I don't like it at all. And
Hmm.
that's a guest I don't want.
I I will have to I will have to agree with you there. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people you can talk with. I don't think I've met anyone that's like, oh yeah, I really like someone who's arrogant and puts people down. But yes, I've been lucky so far. Even the traditional authors who have a lot of reason, I guess, that they could be arrogant
Mhm.
were super nice and genuine. So it was like there was a few I was like, okay, well, this could be bad, but it's we'll see. But they were all fantastic, and the fact that they have wrote for TV shows and movies, and they were able to come onto my little small neck of the woods to talk to me about nonsense was was very cool stuff.
Well, over the years that I've been doing my little show, I've never done a live show because I'm a nobody from Kentucky and there would be crickets. But another good reason is if I was encountering an arrogant, rude, nasty person, it might be good for my ratings, but I really don't want the audience to hear me cussing somebody out.
Yeah, we don't want that, Rod. We don't want that.
Now, I saw something, as a matter of fact, I witnessed a great event. And I'm going to read this because my own gibberish is too long. I saw that you began a collaboration with Chris from Beard Book Best called Booked and Bearded.
Hmm.
I saw the first episode and it was great. What plans do you guys have for that show?
Yeah, man. So this was something in the works for a while. Chris and I have been talking about doing something for a very long time. So this podcast is something we're both very passionate about, Book and Bearded. So we just got done with episode 1, which is more of an introduction. Hey, kind of here's the plan, here's our style of how these conversations are going to go. The next one we're going to test out doing a topic. So I picked a topic about DNFing books
Mhm.
versus those that once you start a book, you want to go through and finish it. So I'm the kind of person that I will DNF very quickly, while Chris is more of the, well, I want to finish this book, even if I'm not a huge fan. So we're going to have a great discussion. We should be having that, I think, February 10th. And then we're going to go through and see how that goes. And if people seem to like the topic stuff, we'll continue with that. If not, we'll just start rambling and talk nonsense like what we normally do when we're on lives or not on lives. So yeah, Chris and I talk all the time. He's a great guy, and yeah, I'm super excited to see where that one goes. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. But I appreciate you being on. I remember you jumping on and talking with us. I really do, appreciate seeing you in the comments.
Thank you. Well, I've got to say, the two of you really work well together on a show. It's sort of like a professional tennis match. Neither one of you missed a beat. I mean, it was a great show, and I am so looking forward to seeing more. And I'll definitely try to get a link to that show and figure out how to put it in the description, because I'd like a lot of people to know about it because I think that's going to be a big success. That's very cool.
I appreciate that, Rod. I think it really comes down to where we're not just internet friends. We're actually like we became friends over the internet. So it's like we talk on these lives that we've been on. We've been on so many, and then we talk outside of it also. So we talk all the time. So yeah, I think that's just genuine friendship. We have a lot of respect for each other. So I feel like that's why we work so well together. So it's cool. It's fun. Good time.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to seeing the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure the audience will enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to it myself. I'm the host. I try to keep the show moving and ask a few questions, but nobody comes to see me. The audience is like, yay, Josh is on. I want to check him out. So I'd love to give the guest an opportunity to address the audience directly and share anything you feel like sharing.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I for anyone that's not familiar with me, I started BookTube October of last year or 2024. 2020, yeah, it was 2024, October 2024. And it started as something I just wanted to go through and talk to someone about books, because there are just a handful of people in my personal life that actually know how to read. I'm just kidding. They actually open a book and read it. They're more of a video games, TV people, which is it's fun. So I was like, let me get on the internet and talk to this camera, and hopefully I can at least talk to one other person who likes this nonsense that I like to go through and do. So I've been blessed to go through and talk to amazing people on here. I have so much fun, and it's been so good for me because since I started BookTube, I found indie books, because before that it was all traditionally published books. I thought, indie meant they weren't good enough to be traditional, and I was completely wrong about that. So that's why I've really leaned into the indie space. I personally believe you have at least for me, a better chance when you pick up a random book. If it's an indie book, that is probably going to be fantastic. Why traditional, it's a flip of a coin. And that's just been my experience. And obviously my experience is not the same as everyone else's experience, but I truly love the indie space. I love the authors I've communicated with. I've enjoyed the stories that I've gone through and read. So I lean really hard into reading indie books. Of course, I still read traditional books, but the indie space is where my true love is. And that's the big purpose of this channel, is for me to grow and find amazing stories and gems and just golden books, but also to go through and share and use whatever platform I have to help people reach their dream. And if I can be just a small glimpse and a small step to help someone reach their dream, that's all I want. And that's all I really care about when it comes to doing this social media, YouTube stuff. It's just really going through and helping people. I just have a huge passion for it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I totally understand. My publishing house exists for reasons right along with yours. There's a great satisfaction in helping these hardworking, really, really hardworking writers get a chance, especially in today's book world where so many doors are guarded or closed outright. And, I've encountered many writers that you've never heard of that are outstanding, as good as any traditional writer I've ever read. They just haven't had a chance. They can't get in the door. So you do an incredible service to the book world, readers, writers, everyone involved in books, because you say, hey, check this person out, get to know them, check out their work. And, it literally puts them on the map. And I think that is so fantastic.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
It froze up for a second there. Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that. Oh, am I back? Did he lose me for a minute?
Yeah, you're back. That's okay. It just looked like you were sleeping through what I was saying, and I probably bore a lot
I
of
was
people.
here. I was listening. I didn't doze off.
I'm gonna leave that in because that'll make all the audience say, "Well, I'm not so bad for dozing off."
No, that's perfect. That's so funny. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate it, and that's the big thing, man. I appreciate what you do for the space of going through and giving people the opportunity to help them get their name out there, because it's not cheap, and it's very hard to go through and put out a lot of funds up front. And that's the big thing. What I have respect for these people who are really passionate about going after their dreams. Not only are they writing a story that's taken them sometimes years and years of their time to put together, but then they have to lean into this marketing, publishing, editing, all this stuff that they were just like, I just want to tell good stories, but they have laundry list of other things they've got to go through and do. And then the marketing spot seems to be a big area that a lot of authors just don't like to do. A lot of them are just like, I do not want to go through and do this. I would rather just write stories, but it's a big part of the gig when you're in an indie space. So going through and people like you who say, hey, let me help you without this process, and let me go through and give you this opportunity. I really respect people like you that go through and just give them the chance to at least get their work out in front of people. So really do appreciate it. Thanks, man.
I want to say again, your show makes a big difference in the writing world, and a big part of it is marketing. I'm an author, editor, and publisher, and I can say with its serious experience, marketing is a nightmare for everyone. Marketing is hard for the writer, the publisher, the big five, for anybody, because it may work for this writer. Wow, great success. Do the same thing with that writer, flop. There's no way of knowing. And the marketing is a nightmare for everyone. And part of marketing, as I said at the beginning of the show, a writer needs to, if I mean, you can publish a book and set it on your bookshelf and be satisfied. That's some writer's journey. But if you want to try to pursue being well known or making some money, you absolutely have to exist. They have to know, oh, that
Mhm.
writer, Rod Gilley. Oh, that book, whatever.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to promote me, but I'm just trying to say the audience needs to be aware that you and your work exist. And that's where Already Overbooked is a hero to the writer because bam, you're on this popular show with this great interviewer. The audience is getting to know about you. They're getting to know about your projects. That's solid gold for a writer. You are making such a difference, and you've interviewed so many writers. I mean, you're making a huge difference in the book world. I imagine you already know that, but it's worth saying. Outstanding.
Thank you. It means a lot. And that's the big thing. I want to grow the channel to get more eyeballs on this. I'm not in it to be like, oh, look, I can make money. Cause I'm honestly, that's the last thing I'm looking for. It's just, I want to get more eyeballs on people's works. And that's the big thing. Like I'm going to be reading this year more traditional published to help fall within the algorithm, but the indie is still my baby. Like that's like at least 50% of the reviews I do, even though the numbers aren't great, I have passion and I love these stories and I feel like they need to be out there because I want when people go through and Google an indie book, I want not only where you see the reviews on Goodreads or Amazon, but you actually have a video where someone's going through and talking about why they went through and loved that book. Then hopefully one person will go through and pick it up and give it a chance because people will find out indie books are fantastic
Yeah,
written by fantastic people.
yeah. I will say there are some fabulous indie writers. I totally agree.
Mhm.
Sadly, there's also lesser writers. And I won't go into what I think is lesser because that's not appropriate to this show. But when you find them, Steve Stark, Molly McCobb, Janelle Shiki, and many, many more,
Mhm.
you are finding gold that in 5 years, maybe a little more. These are the people that everyone's talking
Mhm.
about, like they're talking about Stephen King and Brandon Sanderson.
Mhm.
Well, eventually it'll be these guys because their writing is amazing, you know.
Mhm.
And what put them on the map? Guys like you, Josh. They can write those
Mhm.
fantastic stories and never be known, never be heard of. Your show makes that big a difference. You're bringing to the world a writer who one day will be a star. And isn't that an exciting thing to know that you had a part in that you made a difference? I don't
Mhm.
care how much money you make. I've been rich, I've been poor, and everything in between. But to know you really made a difference, you know,
Mhm.
I
Yep.
mean, I'm like twice your age, but for me, that's really important. Before I croak, I want to know I made a difference.
Yeah, that's the dream, man. That's the dream. But yeah, you named all amazing authors, and that's the thing. Like, I know if they keep it up because their books that they keep putting out just keep getting better and better. You mentioned Mila McCobb, her her amazing stories are. I think it's coming out the 1st of February. We have Janelle's book that the cover is dropping in February. I can't recall when it's dropping. Her Spiders book is so good. I don't know when Steve's dropping a new book, but both of his books have been amazing. I have them all right up here. So I got a bunch of the Dark Veil Society group up there. I need to get the rest of them. They keep adding more members, and I'm like, I'm trying to catch up to y'all. But yeah, that whole group is fantastic and all super nice people. Which it's interesting because they write very intense horror stories, but they're
Uh-huh.
literally the nicest people you ever meet. So it's like
Uh-huh.
you think it's like this person's going to be a character, but they're super nice. So it's like
Mhm.
how they go through and write stories to who they truly are as a person is like night and day. It's so fun, so awesome.
Uh, well, one thing I definitely want to get into the show is I am sure the audience will be wanting to reach out to you. And I don't know if I did you a favor or not, because a ton of writers are going to be like, can I get on your show? But there's a lot of readers and writers that I'm sure would enjoy reaching out to you. So if you would share your website, any social media where someone could say, hey, Josh, what's up?
Yeah, so I think I sent you my dog ear, so I think you'll put that in the description below. But I am on YouTube, of course. You can send me an email. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, which I'm not really active on Instagram, but I'm there. I read comments, I talk to people on there, but I don't really post too much on there. I'm on Blue Sky, I think. I haven't checked that in like months. So if you send me anything on there, send it on some of the other ones. But I'm already overbooked on all the social medias. Come say hey to me. If you are an author who is interested about being on the channel, I did mention that I prefer to read at least one of your books before I have you on. I feel for me personally, I want to be excited. I want when I tell people, hey, go through and read Rod's book. I want to be able to explain to them why they should go through and read Rod's book. And then when me and you are having a conversation, I want to be able to go through and ask you specific questions about your book. So if you want to be on the show, just know that in advance that I would prefer to read your book before I have you on. I'm not asking for a free book. I try to go through and buy all the authors' books who come on. But if you're willing to go through and share with me a copy of your book, I will definitely go through and read it. It's just a matter of when I have the opportunity because I am very booked up. I'm pretty much what people say I'm already overbooked.
Yep. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it one bit. With the books you read and just a vast number of awesome interviews, I know that you're a very busy man.
Yep.
Well, I really don't like this part of the show, but it is what it is because I use a free program. Got to watch the expenses. But Josh, such a joy. I wish we had a couple of hours to chat. I mean, there's so many things I'd love to ask you. Your shows are fantastic. I mean, that's not, for the show. That's just a fact. You'll see me on there. Hey, hi, this is me. And anyway, to the audience, it is with great regret. I wish I did have a lot more time, but I'm afraid episode 46 of Relax and Chat must come to an end. I sure hope you enjoyed meeting Josh. I got to tell you, it's a great thing to meet a really skilled and dedicated booktuber. That's solid gold to the writers. So I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Josh. I hope you enjoyed the show and so much. I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Appreciate it, Rod. Thanks, buddy.